Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Chickendew versus YueJin in Game 2 out of 2 games in the European Steel Division League Code S. Today we are seeing St. Merigly's duelists, and on the Allied side, Chickendew is taking out the 3rd Canadian versus YueJin's 9th Panzer. So the 3rd Canadian isn't really a division we see all that often. It does really sort of fall off in Phase B due to its lack of armour that it can push with. However, it does come back strong in Phase C and also has some extremely strong Phase A units in those Ram 2s. The Ram 2s are actually incredibly good against the 9th Panzer as well, because the 9th Panzer, they have the Panzer 2s, Panzer 1s, they've got the Marders, but the Ram has 12 front armor as well as 11 AP, so not only can it bounce Marders from range, it can kill off those smaller vehicles very easily, and those vehicles and tanks. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to see from Chickendew if he's going to fight over the open range engagements. In the town he can use Stormtroopers and Wasps, and that looks like a combination he's going to be going for. Over on the side of YueJin, he has to be a little bit more, I would say, creative with his strategy. He can go for the town with Sturm Pioneers, and we'll have some of those available. But on these open range engagements, I expect there to be at least one Marder maybe on the top side. But we could see possibly some looks and stuff go into the town to help with those infantry engagements, because they would be very, very useful for taking care of these Wasps. So we'll have to wait and see what exactly comes down. There is actually a looks in here. We can see those 2 Sturm Pioneers. There's going to be 1 Panzer Grenadier and a command on the side of YueJin heading for that town. On the top side, just going to be the 251 with the speed through it for now. And on the bottom side, it's a Pak 38 with the 251 as well. So yeah, there's the Marder. That's what I expected on this top side. The reason that you'd take the Marder on the top side as opposed to the bottom side is because you've got a lot more sort of space to work with up here to find those max range engagements, whereas on the bottom side it's a bit more risky due to these tree lines. But over on the side of Chickendew, just going to be going for a couple rifles probably for the top side with a 6-pounder. Then for the town it's going to be 3 units of Stormtroopers with that command carrier and command infantry, 1 Wasp, I think one's been removed, another unit of Stormtroopers probably going elsewhere other than the centre of the town. Then you've got the Piat to follow up. On the bottom side, it's going to be the Ram 2, the Staghound AA, 2 rifles. And it looks like Chickendew is going to be trying to take advantage of these hedgerows to find engagements onto any enemy armoured vehicles that do turn up on this bottom side. So going to be trying to make some ground on the bottom side, going to be trying to take control of the town. That's going to be the 3rd Canadian strategy. On the side of YueJin, he's going to be trying to contest the town, not necessarily win it, and then maybe try and find ground elsewhere with these half-tracks and the combination on the top side of this Panzer 1 and the Marder 3. So let's speed up this game and we will get it underway. YueJin just switching out a couple of his units. Maybe they got deployed to the edge of the map or something, but off we go. And see those units heading to the bottom side here. The ones with the green arrows are the Bedford trucks with the rifles. Just going to unload those at position. Staghound AA is waiting for the Ram 2. Into the town, just going to be more unload at position commands. Wasp just got the fast move in there. Couple of rifles for the top side. YueJin coming up here. Going to be trying to move his half track so that he can find some extra ground on the very top. Whilst this Marder sort of goes for a snipe here. He's going to be able to hit these rifles quite well. If the spear troops start moving forwards as well and eventually spot the 6-pounder, this Marder 3 is great at like engaging that from out of range. This Panzer 1 is really going to be the thing to rip to shreds those rifles if it can. But let's watch this engagement in the centre here. These Stormtroopers can be extremely strong. One of them's already used their grenade though, so they're not going to be particularly effective against the 2nd unit of Sturm Pioneers. But due to their high veterancy plus their high HE, they do a lot of damage, and here Chickendew really needs to get them into the building as soon as possible, otherwise he could be in trouble. But he wants those Stormtroopers to attack the Sturm Pioneers. That's the important part here, making sure that he gets that TNT onto the Sturm Pioneers. But in this case, it looks like the Stormtroopers are going to end up being pinned down. Panzer II looks definitely helping out there. Stormtroopers did manage to destroy one of the half-tracks. The grenade from the stormtroopers landed on one of the half-tracks as well. Panzer II looks is going to be looking to take that out. So interesting engagement at the start here. YueJin's got to just make sure that that does target the Wasp 2 and doesn't retreat from the flames straight away. Because one thing that's annoying about those Wasps is they leave the flames on the ground, obviously. And then the tank that's sitting on top of it will move and just keep adjusting its aim. So you have to make sure that you micro the tank to keep aim onto the target that's flaming. Otherwise it will just constantly move, get pinned down, possibly surrendered later on. In this case it wouldn't get surrendered because the Panzer is there, but still would have been forced to fall back, and then there would have been no way to really deal with that Wasp. So getting that kill there was extremely important. Panzer 1C now coming into play, pushing into the top side of the town to help out with some of these infantry engagements, looking for the kill onto the command carrier but does not find it. Sturm Pioneer is now going to be engaging the Stormtroopers in the open. Stormtroopers not being in heavy cover does mean that they are going to go down, and the Sturm Pioneers also go down to the rifles of the rifle leader, which is not something you see very often, but the 1HE doing the job for once. Now YueJin is in a healthy position here since he does have this Panzer Grenadier squad that's still 7 men. There is some more Stormtroopers on the way, but Chickendew only has a limited amount of these. I think it's 6 of them in Phase A, and therefore already losing, I think, 3 squads. It's quite significant because it definitely leaves YueJin in a better place moving into the late game. He has Sturm Pioneers in Phase A that he's using to contest. This will be the last Sturm Pioneer squad, I think. And then he'll have Pioneers moving into B and C. And those can definitely do a lot better against rifles than Stormtroopers. And if all the Stormtroopers are dead and out of the way, that would be perfect. So 2 Stormtroopers now standing in the way of the advance of the rest of the units. Panzer will not want to get killed by these Stormtroopers. YueJin just going to be dropping back from that engagement. Stormtroopers going to try and chase them down. Almost left them in line of sight of the Panzer II looks, but Chickendew making sure that that smoke is used correctly. One thing that I think YueJin should do here is sort of bait the TNT, because if he can do that, then he can engage the Stormtroopers with the Sturm Pioneers without really being affected too much. But at the moment it seems to just be this engagement in the centre here that's causing all of the action, and with YueJin taking the majority of the town so far, it's a +1 in his favour. Stormtroopers, they were forced out of the building they were in due to the Panzer II looks opening up onto them. They have already used their HE grenade onto the Panzer II looks, so that doesn't leave it there to use on the Panzer Grenadiers, and therefore they are going to get beaten. Another unit going down, another Stormtrooper out of the way. Panzer 1C now engaging the Stormtroopers at close range, did again get attacked by the 20 HE power grenade, but job not quite done there. Piet is coming into the building though. 2-star Piet, can it get the job done? It can. Panzer 1 does go down. Sturm Pioneers will want to finish those off. Panzer Grenadiers going to help do the job. Panzer Grenadiers now trying to open up onto the Stormtroopers at range. And this is a very back and forth engagement, honestly. With these Stormtroopers still alive and a TNT still in hand, they will be able to hopefully kill off at least one of these squads. Really depends where that grenade went. I think it went onto that half-track there. Wasp killing off the command is very important. It means that anything that is flamed in the future by these Wasps will be surrendered. So that Wasp has a big part to play here. Depends if the Panzer II looks can kill it or not. It's very important that it does. Otherwise, YueJin's position could be under risk. Another Wasp on the way. More infantry reinforcements. Another Piet. There's a lot of rifles now heading this way. And that could be something that's hard for YueJin to deal with in the early game. I believe the Canadian has a lot more infantry availability in Phase A. So the Night Panzer may be having issues. We may see YueJin try and back off a little bit if Chickendew starts to get aggressive. But honestly, this half-track's in a really good position. If it can actually unload this infantry before it gets in the town, that would be absolutely fantastic. Panzer II looks there, going to possibly be able to kill the Wasp 2. It does indeed. The 251-2 dislodges its position and pushes it in front of the Panzer II. The Panzer II finds and gets the kill. 2 more Panzer II looks are on the way. And unless this Piet can be an absolute hero, same with the rifle leader, these Panzer II looks could run all over this town. It's going to be very dependent on this Panzer Grenadier squad, to be honest. If this Panzergren squad moves forwards, spots these rifle leaders and keeps them pinned, the Panzer II Lux can wipe them out. This Piat has jumped back, is looking for the kill onto the half-track, does find it. These Piats being quite reliable, which is very nice for Chickendew. However, another unit of Stormtroopers has gone down. I believe that's the last Stormtrooper squad we're going to be seeing in this game. And these Panzer II Lux certainly making a lot of ground. Ram 2 is looking for the shot onto these Panzer II Lux. YueJin probably very tempted to try and jump forwards there and get the kill onto the Ram. He could use these trees to block the line of sight, get up into the 150 meter range. That was before the Ram 2 was actually moved. With the speed through it moving up on the top side and the 6-pounder coming down, half-track is going to be opening up onto that 6-pounder, which could open up opportunities for this Marder 3 on the top side. You can see that is going to start to attack, move forwards. Panzer Grenadiers opening up at range. Piat has got into the front of this Panzer II and does find the kill. 3 Piat shots, 3 kills. That is quite spectacular there from Chickendew, but is it going to be enough? We'll have to wait and see. Panzer II Lux still sitting in the face of the Piat. That's going to be 4 out of 4. This is incredible. Actually watching Piats hit something for once. Reinforcing command infantry definitely necessary. Panzer Grenadiers now moving forwards. YueJin not going to be very happy about losing 2 of his Lux. Oh, that Panzer Grenadier, it had one shot with its Panzerfaust and it actually missed onto the Wasp Mark II. Was forced to fall back due to the house being set on fire. Panzer II Lux now engaging the Ram 2. Not an engagement that YueJin will want. Panzer Grenadier is now under fire from the Humber Mark III. Humber Mark III does have that 16 HE, which is incredibly good against these infantry at close range. Very similar to how the Panzer II Lux has a 16 HE. Oh, nice line of sight use there though by YueJin to take out the Wasp without being in line of sight of the Ram 2. Very, very smart play. On the bottom side, Sniper Scouts, they are going to be finding the Pak 38 and these Panzer Grenadiers. Pak 38 on the bottom side is killed off by the 25-pounder. That could leave the door open for Chickendew to make some ground down here. These Sniper Scouts certainly doing a great job. In the town, Panzer II Lux driver wounds the Humber Mark III. Definitely a strong chance here that the Panzer II Lux will find the kill. Looks like the Lux maybe on the top side came in and finished that off. But with the 6-pounder out the way, Panzer II getting very aggressive, 251 also moving forwards aggressively. Sniper Scouts, they're doing a lot of damage to the spear troop though, and losing this recon on the top side will blind the Marder 3 and the Panzer II Lux, and that could put YueJin in trouble, especially when it comes down to this 6-pounder. However, with the 6-pounder potentially pinned here by the mortar, the Panzer II Lux should have a good time. Oh, the 6-pounder just missed at close range there. That's going to allow the Panzer II Lux to take advantage and just possibly surrender it, if not just take it out. Panzer Grenadier still holding strong in the town as well. It's very interesting, these rifles, they're moving up to the top side I think to just kind of cover off this engagement. On the bottom side, rifles have moved forwards ahead of the Staghound AA to find these Panzer Grenadiers. If the Staghound AA gets into position here, it can help pin those down very quickly, get the surrender, and then carry on this bottom side where YueJin is making ground on the top side, so it would counteract that. Piat coming under fire is going to be taken out. New rifles are trying to get into the buildings here, but the Panzer II Lux certainly being a nuisance all over this top side. In the town, it looks like they're going to rush forwards with the Piat down. He can be very aggressive onto any infantry that's trying to advance. Does get right into the face of those rifles. And this Ram 2 struggling to find the shots onto those targets. But with the Panzer Grenadiers dead on the bottom side, you can see that the salient has opened up for Chickendew, but with the Panzer II Lux on the way and the Ram 2 now near the town, it looks like the Panzer II Lux will have free reign to kill off the Staghound AA and these rifle squads. 25-pounder looking for the kill onto the Pak 38. Chickendew trying to make good use of the artillery of the 3rd Canadian, which is something that is seen quite often. Now there's 251 trying to kill off the Sniper Scouts. If he can find that kill, that would be very nice. They can be an extremely big nuisance, and they did manage to kill off those Panzergrens, which relinquishes the control of the bottom side of the town to Chickendew for the time being. But these rifles have been surrounded. I think the 251's kind of looking for those, or looking for something around here to kill, basically. But the Panzer II Lux, they're still trying to get quite far up, but with the arrival of a Sherman 3, wait and see if the Marder 3 can take care of that. Because at close range, the Sherman 3 should win. YueJin, rightly so, going to be trying to back off there, but of course the Sherman is fast moving, so going to be much quicker than the Marder's reverse. If he can just get it behind those trees, then he should have plenty of time to get back to the 1,200 meter range, which he can then take full advantage of against the Sherman 3, because the Sherman only has the 1,000 meter range. And the Sherman also trying to get a shot onto the Panzer II on the top side, didn't manage to aim in time. Panzer II Lux did clean up the Staghound on the bottom side and one of the rifle squads. Now needs to clean up these rifles and then continue onwards. But so far it's just been a matter of extremely good micro from YueJin. His use of these Panzer II Lux has been absolutely fantastic to watch. Just using line of sight so damn well. Getting right on top of these rifles, looking for the surrender. Other squads nearby, so just going to have to kill them off. Oh, Piet though. Another Piet shot hits the mark. That's another Panzer II Lux going down. I guess the only thing that Chickendew really could have done in the town is just bring in more of these Piets, because they have actually been working out pretty well. At the same time, I think just the way that YueJin's traded with his infantry has been really smart. The other thing that he's taken advantage of, though, is the fact that Chickendew has allowed the stormtroopers to sort of waste their HE grenades, and now all of the stormtroopers are dead because they couldn't really fight off enemy infantry. They were sort of throwing them at vehicles and tanks when they probably should have otherwise been throwing them elsewhere. Smoke coming down from the Panzer Grenadier there, going to be trying to cover the Panzer Grenadiers. Like the another half-track, mortar half-track has come in. Panzer 1C looking for those rifles. This is a strong position for YueJin on the bottom side. Has unloaded the Panzer Grenadier there to give him some extra veterancy on the Panzer IV. But he needs to get rid of these rifles, and he can't be sure that there isn't a Piet here, so needs to be a little bit wary of that. I guess he probably would find out that there is a Piet there due to the ranging of that against the building. So maybe he could use that information to just push aggressively towards the building and reveal them. But at the same time, there's always that sort of mind games. But if he checked, he would have been shot at by now if there was a Piet. So maybe he'll just go for it. At the same time, the Wolverine is on the field. It looks like he's just going to try and, again, play around line of sight. And Stu looks gets right next to the building. There we go. YueJin knows what he's doing. Gonna take him out nice and easy. Panzergrens take care of the Piet there. Those poor rifles really are just gonna get messed up. They also ended up revealing themselves against Panzergrenadier anyway, so job done for YueJin. Takes back that territory. Now sitting on a +2. Really strong position on the top side with the Panzer II Lux, because a lot of the infantry that Chickendew has will not have Piets to hand. You'll have to rely a lot on his command infantry, and therefore this Panzer II Lux is a big threat to any infantry that he does have, as well as the Wasp combinations. Double AT gun to this bottom side though. Look at that. This is what you call a counter, especially to what YueJin's trying to do here. Build up some of this armor, make some ground. 251 mortar could definitely be a problem though. Unless it allows itself to come into line of sight. I don't think it will be at any point. Just trying to get behind that tree line. Yeah, double 6-pounder. Really going to just stop the use of these tanks for now. We'll have to be careful about this artillery coming in onto them, because if both of these 6-pounders do get pinned, then he may have problems. But spreading them out nicely is a good start. That's what Chickendew needs to do to avoid them both being pinned down at the same time. That's why you bring in 2 rather than just 1. I mentioned it before that a lot of people, they bring in 1 at a time, and it's really quite a bad habit because they can just get picked off individually. But here the Panzer II Lux going to be opening up onto the 6-pounder. 6-pounder does find the internal fragments though. I was going to be very surprised that 6-pounder died in the face of the Panzer II there. But smart job there. Well done. Sherman 3 will need to aim and kill this Panzer IV-J quickly, and does. Very nice job indeed. Takes out both the Panzer II Lux and the Panzer IV. Marder 3 comes in with track wheel damage though, which is going to be a big threat. We can see that the Panzer II Lux is trying to aim and fire at these rifle squads. This rifle leader needs to get up there and help out sooner than later, otherwise these rifle squads are so damn dead. Chickendew, obviously distracted elsewhere, will now finally be moving that up there to find the kill. Incredibly action-packed game. Wolverine now coming in on this bottom side. 6-pounder looking for the shot onto the Panzer IV, I believe. Never mind, going to be taking a shot at that half-track. Another Piat hitting the mark. I believe this is 6 out of 6 now for the Piats. Fantastic job by them. Now the Wasps getting ready to push back into the town with a lot of these Panzer II Lux taken care of. There isn't too much to stop these Wasps, supported by rifles, from doing a lot of damage to enemy infantry that is in the town. But YueJin will want to be reinforcing this sooner than later, since there is one man in this Panzer Grenadier squad, one man in this Panzer Gren squad, and then one in this Panzer Gren, or two in the Panzer Grenführer. So that's a total of 4 men. More infantry in the middle will be required soon enough, especially if Chickendew starts to put on a little bit of pressure there. On the bottom side, we can see that Panzer IV is going to take out one of the commands. Looks like the Wolverine just absolutely nailed that Marder 3 as well. Fantastic job there. 251. Does manage to find the kill onto one of the 6-pounders. I think the other one was probably mortared as well. The mortar half-track actually got taken out here. I don't know if that was due to line of sight from the Wolverine. It must have been. But that is a really good kill for Chickendew to find. The 2-star mortar going down and not letting it be reloaded is like really important, because 2-star mortars can be incredibly accurate. Losing a bit of infantry there is not ideal for Chickendew, but probably won't affect the outcome of this infantry engagement due to the numbers advantage that Chickendew has. But we'll want to probably bring a Sherman into this town sooner than later, especially if YueJin is going to be committing his Panzer IVs to do the same. So now we're looking at a bit of a 50-50 more or less. The only advantage really coming from YueJin's positioning on this top side, but that could be swiftly broken by some moves from this Sherman 3. Just needs to be fixed up so that it can use its speed to maybe take out this half-track, then like get up in the face of this Marder 3 using these trees as line-of-sight breakers. And yeah, that could be recovered quite nicely. So that's up to Chickendew to make those moves. In the meantime, however, Panzer IV coming in strong. Is going to take out that Wasp, just shrugs off the flames. 251 now moving forwards as well. Going to be taking shots at another Wasp. These rifles are in a pretty tough spot. Panzer IVJ does take out that Steward as well. It's not ideal. I feel like Chickendew is losing a lot of units unnecessarily at the moment. Pioneers now on their way as well. I mentioned that Pioneers would be available to YueJin eventually for this town, and now they're here. It's going to make things very difficult for the rifles to make some ground without the support of Wasps. And if the Wasps are hard countered by Panzers, then that's going to be a problem. But the Sherman 3 is on the way. Both the Shermans now moving towards the town. And I think the idea would be to get the Shermans as close as possible so they can win the engagements against these Panzers. But with the Panzerschreck in close support, this could make all the difference. If Chickendew kind of gets baited into a close range engagement with these Panzers, then the Panzerschreck could pop out of nowhere and find a kill. That Piat though, missing twice in a row, it's not going to help. We've broken the streak, everyone. Those Piats really just not doing the job this time around. But killing that Panzer IVJ would have definitely been very nice. It seems like when it really mattered, it wasn't to be. The Piats trolling Chickendew here. Panzerschreck is making its way forwards, is going to be in range of these Shermans as well. Mortar's just trying to help out a little bit by pinning these Shermans. And there you go. One of the Shermans is dead. Other Sherman's going to have to back off as soon as possible. Nothing really Chickendew could have done about the first one, other than predicted it was there, which would have been quite unlikely. And, well, the Marder's gone down. Panzer IVH going to be engaging, with the Sherman being a little bit pinned and only 1-star veterancy. It is going to lose out in that engagement. Transmission damage initially from the Panzer IV, then followed up by the kill. Nice job by YueJin to find that engagement and be successful in doing so. He's going to back off for now, especially with the Firefly coming down the road. You don't want to have a 1,200 meter range engagement against a Firefly with a Panzer IV. That is a no-no. So YueJin, well aware of that, going to be backing off. Tiger E now arriving on the top side. And considering YueJin's still in a pretty good spot moving into Phase C, he is now going to have these Tigers to just back up his already quite strong front line. The only thing I would say is he's pretty light on the ground in the town, but he is reinforcing that with his infantry here, so that's not too bad. SDKevZ 263 also coming in to join, provides some more command, especially to these Panzer IVs, which will be much more mobile, so relying on a mobile command unit at this point is a pretty good idea. The Tiger coming in there trying to pin down some of these rifles as they make some ground forwards. I think this Firefly would probably be better off trying to come to the top here and kill off this Marder 3. And then he could maybe look for the kill onto the Tiger, which would then open the top side. That would be a really nice play for Chickendew right now, but we have to have a look at what he can actually see. He can see all of those units, so yeah, that would be a natural sort of decision for me. But either way, we'll have to wait and see what Chickendew does. He is bringing in a 17 pounder to that top side as well. Has unloaded it a bit early though. Maybe expecting the Tiger to push forwards more aggressively. But currently YueJin sitting on the +1, 57% territory lead, almost +2 again, 1,500 points. I don't think Chickendew can really afford to sit back at this point. Maybe needs to find a bit more aggression, get another Firefly on the field possibly, and yeah, just use those to try and make some ground, because when both of the Tigers die from the 9th Panzer, that's really when the difference is made in Phase C. And if he's just purely relying on Panzer IVs from that moment forward, Fireflies trump Panzer IVs most of the time. So that's something you can try and rely on. Either way, losing like a infantry squad to the Panzerschreck in the town is not ideal. He wants to make sure that you do have at least a little bit of infantry presence or pressure onto the town, so that YueJin can't just leave that undefended. That's what he's trying to do here. Another 17 pounder on its way. Just trying to get that up and close, but the spear troop will spot it. 17 pounder has a shot onto the 263, but here comes an ME109 G2BR21. There is no AA, so that is going to be free to do what it likes. Spitfire Mark 9 comes in to try and duel with that ME109, but of course there is the SDKevZ 71. So the Spitfire, it might have enough time here to find the kill, especially if, yeah, it doesn't fly over the SDKevZ. I feel like YueJin maybe should have microed that over his AA before giving the fallback command, because in that case it didn't go anywhere near the AA, and that was unfortunate because it allowed the Spitfire to get the kill. The Pioneers, they're just going to clean up another unit of infantry. 17 pounder now down to 1 health, but 1 health AT guns, we know how powerful they can be. Although I haven't seen a 1 health AT gun do very well in a while, and well, there we go, it just burnt up in the flames anyway. So 17 pounder down, and good job by YueJin just to keep on top of that. Another ME109 G2BR21 coming in. Going to force Chickendew to buy another Spitfire if he wants to get rid of it. But it looks like YueJin's just going to get away with it. Oh, never mind. Here comes Chickendew with that Spitfire I was talking about. This time the ME109's in a bit of a better position. It is going to take a lot of fire from the Staghound AA, but as it retreats, the Spitfire will be forced to fall back by the Flak 36. So, that ME109 got away with that, and the 17 pounder is indeed dead. Now YueJin's got pretty lucky that these rocket strikes took out the 17 pounders in one hit, because often I've seen these rocket strikes land on top of the 17 pounders and then like leave them on 1 or 2 health. So pretty good for YueJin to find those kills. Definitely removes a lot of the lethality against his Tiger on the top side, and just generally puts him in a very good position. There isn't really too much you can do to stop those rocket strikes either on the side of Chickendew. Yes, you could have argued that he might have had more AA, but at the same time, it's unlikely that a Crusader AA, unless it's ahead of the tanks or the stuff it's trying to defend, will stop the rocket strike from landing in the first place. So regardless, the AT gun would have been pinned down. But here comes a Focke-Wulf 190 for the strafe on the bottom side. Going to try and strafe the Wolverine to stop that from being as effective against enemy tanks, especially as the Panzer IV comes around the corner there, does find the crew wound, and will find the kill. which now leaves the bottom side very vulnerable. Focke-Wulf 190 though, going to be taken down once again, and YueJin's air micro leaving a lot to be desired, honestly, in this game. It's something that he's quite well known for, his air micro, but yeah, it's getting the better of him. His Spitfire's doing the job. Tiger E though, that's also doing the job, going to take out the Firefly. And that is not very good at all for Chickendew. Leaves him in a very, very tough spot here, because depending on how many tanks he does have, he might not even have another Panzer available, or another Firefly, sorry, available. And that could leave him in a very tough spot. Seems to be relying very heavily on these 17-pounders. Now Chickendew's artillery's under fire, and that just tells you all you need to know, really, that YueJin is on the brink of breaking through. When you do get line of sight onto those artillery pieces, you realise there is really not much left. Panzer IV-H has done absolute work on the bottom side, just trying to avoid a Piat shot from the rifle leader at the moment. And fantastic job by YueJin to control basically in the engagement across the entire map. Panzer IV's now coming alive. 17-pounder under fire. Does take a direct hit and not any damage, which is very interesting. Either way, over time, Panzer IVs will be able to keep that pinned and continue to push forwards, forcing Chickendew to either invest in another 17-pounder or bring out a tank, which may just be a little bit too much right now. So here comes that 17-pounder I mentioned, 25-pounder trying to clean up the AA, and possibly allowing the 3rd Canadian to do the job, but the issue is at this point is Chickendew is very, very far behind. 2,075 points for YueJin, and he's still on a +2. 17-pounder does have the chance to get one shot. The SD KFZ-72 was taken out by the artillery, so nice job there by Chickendew to make that happen, but the 17-pounder is now dead. New 17-pounder on the block. Going to be fired at by the Tiger E. Marder takes out the Sexton. Panzer IV is now just charging forwards. This 17-pounder surely going to get the hit. Yes, indeed. Only transmission damage, though, not quite enough. And here comes the ME-109. Takes it out. Staghound AA was killed as well. Now the Spitfire in trouble. Going to be forced to fall back. The ME-109 G2 BL-21 doesn't stay around to take advantage of that. YueJin just focusing on his ground micro and certainly making a lot of ground. Chickendew realises how far behind he is, and after 29 minutes and 19 seconds, he's going to surrender to YueJin, giving him the victory. That is 2 games out of 2 to YueJin. Fabulous job, 2,770 kills to 1,645 losses. YueJin's just use of like terrain is like really, really awesome to watch, and I think it's something that you can definitely learn from in this game. Just working around those houses, not allowing the Ram 2 to really do its job of cleaning up those Panzers. I mentioned how the Ram 2 could be potentially a hard counter to the Panzer 2, Panzer 1 combo, but YueJin just didn't let it happen because he never forced those engagements. He kept them hidden in the town, used line of sight to his advantage, and the only thing that really Chickendew could have done about that is possibly brought more Piats, like I mentioned previously, or just kept the Ram in the town, which isn't really something that you instinctively want to do because it leaves you vulnerable to like Panzerfaust and so on. And so it's not ideal, especially against the 9th Panzer, where the Panzer Grenadiers do have Panzerfaust, and also there are Panzerschrecks around. And we saw the Panzerschreck take out one of the Sherman 3s, so it's very difficult to sort of play around that kind of micro. It was just very impressive from Chickendew, or from YueJin. There was some sort of interesting plays from Chickendew. He kind of pushed that bottom side quite nicely. Don't think he really took advantage of it as much as he could. The Staghound AA was like left there on its own, and then obviously the Panzer II Lux came in and just cleaned it up, when it possibly could have been sort of reinforced by a Sherman, and then he could have maybe broken through or at least sort of stabilized the ground on that bottom side. But yeah, it's hard to really fight against that kind of micro. YueJin obviously very much focused on his ground micro as opposed to his air micro in this one, because that's something that Chickendew did exploit. But either way, let's have a look at some of these kills and losses. So the Piat's actually coming through quite well. We see 1 kills a Panzer 1, 1 kills the half track, and 2 Panzer 2 looks, which is a lovely kill list for a Piat squad. Another Piat gets the Panzer 2 looks. This Wolverine actually didn't do too bad job taking out the Marder 3. Sherman 3 also taking out the Panzer 4J and Panzer 1 is not too bad. But just at the end of the day, I think that YueJin just was a lot more cost efficient with his units. If we jump in, you can see the Panzer 2 looks taking out 2 of these Wasps is really, really great. And the Wasp 2 Stormtrooper combo is something that's really, really strong. But unless you have something with AT, like maybe something like Staghounds actually. I'm pretty sure the Canadians get Staghounds. Staghounds would have been fantastic in that town to support that infantry play. So like Wasp, Stormtrooper, Staghound. That would have been really, really good to sort of counter the Panzer 2 looks play that YueJin was trying to go for. These Panzer Grenadiers were microed really well as well. Sturm Pioneers sort of traded 1 for 1 with the Stormtroopers, which is perfect because what you kind of want is by the time your Pioneers coming in as any Axis division against the 3rd Canadian, you want by phase B or C all of the Stormtroopers to be dead, so that you, at any close range engagement, win one-on-one versus enemy infantry with your Pioneers. And that's exactly what YueJin did. He cleaned up a lot of those Stormtroopers early, and that's something that he really took advantage of in the town in the late game, and meant that Chickendew really didn't have much to come back with. Another Panzer 2 looks doing absolute work there, and just chewed up a lot of units. The mortar half tracks were really good as well. Really well microed from YueJin, found a lot of decent kills. Panzer 2 looks taking out a 6-pounder there, is not very fun. But this Panzerschreck ended up taking out both the Ram 2 and the Sherman 3, which is just really, really sucky. Like, this is what I mean about the Ram 2 not wanting to be in the town in the first place. Same with just tanks in general, because they are just so risky to lose against infantry AT, and that's something that like YueJin punished Chickendew for, like trying to counter his Panzer 2 looks. So relying on cheaper armor like the Staghounds isn't as punishing, and therefore allows you to play around that armor a little bit better. But the Panzer 4H did really well, and the Panzer 4J, obviously those ones like pushed through the town, just did absolute work. Tiger came in, killed off the Firefly, which is the perfect engagement. If the Firefly killed the Tiger, it would have put YueJin in a very tough position. But working the other way around just enabled his lead to continue. Marder 3 is of course doing okay, but not fantastic. These MU-109 strikes were pretty lucky as well. The fact that they killed the 17-pounders in one shot. I personally just really don't see that happen when I use them. But maybe that's just my bad luck. I've had a lot of bad luck recently. Either way, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. I have been asked to mention my Vulcan Total War channel, so if you are sort of interested in Total War content, like Total War Warhammer, Total War Rome 2, all that kind of stuff, make sure you go check out my Total War channel, linked in the description. It's an entirely different channel. I upload like 1 or 2 videos a day on it, so yeah, definitely worth checking out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Congratulations to YueJin, finds himself 2 more victories in the European Steel Division League Code S. Fantastic job. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.